Little Spoon Kitchen. Today we are going to be making some egg pasta. It's a basic pasta, but we are going to be making pappardelle pasta specifically with that egg pasta today. I do have a live going on for any of you who are joining us on a later date and you're seeing this in a playlist. So I will be kind of looking off to the side, reading questions, answering questions. Hopefully I will answer all of the questions that you have if you're watching this at a later time. If not, go ahead and in the comments section underneath this video, ask a question. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can to answer whatever things you might need. I do give a lot of information as we go through this. It's a step-by-step process. This whole thing is a cook from start to finish with nothing kind of pre-prepared. So you'll get to kind of experience that whole thing. Trying to think, let's see. That's about it. Welcome, I'm glad you're here today, and let's get cooking. So like I said, we're kind of doing a basic egg pasta that we are going to turn into like pasta noodles later. And essentially what I'm using today is eggs and flour, and that's it. You can use water and salt, obviously, to boil off your pasta once you've made it, and it's all sheeted out and cut down and all that kind of stuff. But this is your basic, this is all you need. This is all you need for a delicious, delicious pasta. The thing that I do that is different from, I think, other recipes, most recipes will tell you to do a cup of flour per egg. I don't particularly like that, or 100 grams of flour per egg. And I don't particularly like that. I don't think that that leads to good consistency. When I first started making pasta, I tried following that as like, you know, that's the thing that you should be doing, right? Everybody on the internet or a lot of the research that I was finding was like, oh, just do this and go for it. And sometimes I would have the perfect pasta, and then sometimes it would be really dry and I'd be sitting there kneading it forever and ever. And I would get so frustrated because it was never consistent. Well, I started researching, started trying to get a little bit deeper into, further past just the first couple of recipes that I found on the internet, and found somebody on Reddit, good old Reddit, that said, hey, this is what you should do. And I have, I guess, on my website in the post, I do give credit to that person on Reddit. So that it is there as a thank you, because I have not made a pasta that is over dry or too wet since then. And essentially what that is you're just using math, right? You're using a ratio. The problem with doing the traditional way of making eggs is that you need to know what the pasta should feel like. And as a beginner, that's kind of impossible, right? Especially if it's your first time, you've never made pasta before, you don't know what pasta should feel like. And so if you have too much flour, you're supposed to come to a point where you're like, oh, this is what I want. And then like move the extra flour aside and keep kneading what you have in front of you. And like, how are you supposed to know, right? So this way, and then also the problem is that sometimes it's perfect. I said before, sometimes it's perfect, sometimes it's not, is eggs are all different sizes. You don't get like, you know, the same size egg every time that you're taking an egg out of a container, right? And so like large eggs specifically in the United States are somewhere between 50 and 55 grams an egg. They weigh their eggs and then they sort them that way, and that's how they go into a container. Well, the perfect size egg for the pasta that everybody is telling you to do it how you do it on the internet is a 60-gram egg, which is kind of hard to come by. So if you're using large eggs and you somehow manage to get like a 57-gram egg or even a 60-gram egg, that was really lucky on your part, and it's gonna make your pasta dough better. But if you're strictly using eggs that are on the lower end of that gram, now you're gonna have dry pasta dough, and we don't want that. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to multiply what the weight of your eggs is by 1.64 to find out how much flour you need. Now, I do have on my website, if you are on there, and which is alittlespoon.com. I should say things, it's fine. If you're on my website and you're looking at the recipe, I do have in there like, you know, hey, if you're trying to do this without these measurements, you don't have a kitchen scale, I do have like you know, the by volume measurements of like how much flour you might need, kind of, you know, really good descriptions and information on like what you're trying to feel when you are making your dough, to kind of help along if you do not have a kitchen scale. But I would highly recommend a kitchen scale just in general to have. You will get more consistent cooking. You can use recipes that are going to give you a better outcome, and because everything is weighed and so it's the same almost every time. But anyway, let's, oh God, math. No, I know. I'm not wearing a chef hat. It's a good try. It's never gonna happen. I'm good with the apron is as far as I go. Okay, so we're gonna turn this guy on. And then what I'm gonna do, see, so this egg was only 53.7 grams. That is gonna mess up my dough. If I was going to use the typical recipe, it would be not good. It would not be good. There we go. Okay. So I ended up with 102.8 grams overall, and you're supposed to have 120 grams of egg to start out with if you're using that recipe as a just kind of a catch-all. So now we've got 102.7. I need another bowl, and let's see. So here's where our math comes in, right? And here's also where my ADHD is a problem, 102.7. And then we're gonna multiply that by 1.64. I get 168.43 grams. So I'm gonna do about 168 grams of flour. Which I already did too much, but that's okay, that's what spoons are for. And this is why it's like I can be super precise now, right? Okay, perfect. So now I'm gonna do the rest of this kind of by hand, right? So we're just gonna kind of pour this out. I'm only using the bowls kind of for measurement. Okay, so we're just gonna get a nice little pile. I'm gonna take my spoon and I'm gonna make a well in the middle. And a well is basically just like a little hole here. You want it to be wide and not deep, because the egg is gonna go into it, and it's more egg than you think it is. I know it seems like it's only 2 eggs, but like you'll see. Once I pour the first one in here, you're gonna be like, oh, actually, that took up like the whole center. Okay, so we're gonna pour our first egg in. Where is that? I wanna make sure I'm not covering it. Okay. So you're just gonna start mixing. And you wanna make sure that as you're mixing, you're kind of taking little bits of your wall here, of your little well, and you're mixing it into the egg. And once you feel like this guy is not gonna go like runny all over the place, you can add in your second egg. So now I'm gonna add my second egg in. This is so simple. You guys, anybody can make pasta. Anybody can make pasta. The hard part is knowing how to make it by feel, right? And so this kind of takes the guesswork out of it until you are like, oh, I've done this so many times, like now I don't need to think about it. And you're gonna just kind of keep going, scooping just a little bit at a time into the center until you know, again, it's not gonna run all over the place. And then you can kind of just bring that in. And you can destroy your little bowl of flour that you've made. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to get rid of the fork. And you can just do this with your hands. I don't really like to have sticky stuff on my hands. So I'm just gonna take my little scraper here. And I know it still seems like it's a lot of flour, but I promise that it's not. Because what's gonna happen is it's going to thicken, right? So it's gonna like harden up a little bit, but this dough needs to be able to be rolled out super, super thin. So like normally when you're making something like a bread dough, right, is like you want it to be nice and soft, If you're doing, I know I've got pierogi, so we've got, I'm Polish, and I have a pierogi recipe, and that dough is like really nice and soft because you kind of roll it out really thin, cut it, and then immediately use it. And that is not this dough. This dough is supposed to be something that dries out a little bit and can withstand being cooked in sauces and all sorts of stuff. And it is not, it's not meant to be like super, super soft. It also isn't meant to be, so like it's also not meant to be super hard. So like the consistency that you're looking for by the time you're done kneading is something along the lines of like a stiff Play-Doh. So like if you've ever, if you've got kids or if you ever, played with Play-Doh, which I'm sure most of us have, there's a time where like if you've opened it like one too many times and it's like not really soft anymore and you kind of lose that texture and it like thickens up and you're like, I can still play with it, but it's not like rock hard. Like that's kind of the texture that you're going for. Really good modeling clay. Yeah. So see, now I've used, and the kind of cool thing too is like now I can use all of the flour and I'm not second guessing whether or not am I using too much flour? Do I keep adding flour? Is this soft enough? Is this too dry? Is this too whatever? Like you don't have to, like this is it. This is the recipe, right? And then what you're gonna do, by the time you are done kneading, anything on your hands is going to be absorbed into the dough. You should be able to touch it. Right now it should be slightly tacky. But it shouldn't stick to you. Like you shouldn't have like wet, like sticking to you kind of hands. If it is, you can add a little bit of extra flour if you really need it. I've never needed it, but just in case. I want to make sure people have an out. Would you add water if making pasta for a different shape? I am not sure what you mean by that, Mia. You mean like if you were doing like a tortellini or like a pappardelle or something like that? Like what are we talking about? I'm just gonna be kneading this dough for like 5 to 10 minutes. And basically what I'm doing is I should explain things. I'm taking the heel of my hand and I'm kind of pushing into the dough and then I'm turning it on its side and pushing it again. And just kind of turning it a quarter turn and pushing it. And I was kind of doing that with both hands. But yeah, essentially you're just kind of turning it and pushing it with the heel of your hand over and over again. And now I guess let's also do this. Oh, an extruded shape, I would not recommend this for an extruded shape, and I absolutely would not add water. So extruded shapes need to be, they need to have more protein and more structure than this pasta dough can afford. You're gonna wanna use semolina flour for that kind of pasta. And you can do, now I've not made an extruded pasta. I just I know that because of like research, but like I don't have an extruder. So I'm not sure if this ratio works, if it's like, if you can use the 1.64 and it's just semolina flour, 2 eggs. I'm not sure of that because I have not experimented with it. But if you wanted to try and let me know how it goes, that'd be cool. But you cannot use, you need something with much more structure and more protein if possible in order to do an extrusion. Because like if it's too soft, it will stick to the insides or it will rip as it's coming out of the machine, and it just needs to be a much tougher dough. Oh, I was doing this. So here's our dough after like a minute of kneading it. You can see when I'm pushing it, right? We're just kind of like gently pushing into it. There's no spring back. And so I'm gonna look up here, hi. There's no spring back. And so it kind of sits there, right? And you can see how mottled this dough is. It's not smooth at all yet. And we want to have a much smoother situation. So we're just gonna keep kneading. you wouldn't recommend a stand mixer. For what? For extruding? I have a stand mixer actually off to the left here that I'm going to be using with a pasta sheeter so that we can roll it out. I was thinking, I guess, who's interested in, for kneading? I prefer using my hands. You could, if you have a stand mixer that is meant for like really thick doughs, then yeah, I guess you could use the stand mixer. But this is fine. Like, this is not a big deal to me, I guess. If it were like brioche, my God, that takes like 30 minutes to make that dough. I would absolutely not do that by hand. But yeah, I mean, if you had a stand mixer that was meant for kneading dough, yeah, you could do it. It would take less time for sure. Okay, let's see where we are. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I know that I'm not. It is getting a little smoother, if you can tell over here. You can see there's a little bit of spring back, that it pops back out, but I am not quite there yet. Making sure I didn't miss any questions here. Oh yeah, extruded pastas are super fun. I mean, think like a penne, right? Or you could do like, some of them will do like bucatini, which is like a really thin spaghetti, but it's got a whole, like a center, kind of like a tube, right? But it's like on the thinner side comparatively. Like it's not, obviously not like a penne or something like that. You could do like rigatoni. Then they have ones with like different shapes. So like, what is it called? It's, I forget what the shape is called, but it's basically like, it's like a ribbed noodle that's a tube, but it's also twisted. So if you've ever seen them, they look kind of like corkscrews, but then they're either ribbed or like flat on the outside, and then there's like a tube through the inside. Those are really fun. There's a whole bunch of different shapes. There are more shapes of pasta than there are stars in the sky, I swear to God. This dough is almost done. I can feel it getting smoother. I can feel it softening just a touch. And we are almost there. Then this has to go in the fridge for about 30 minutes before I can start messing with it. Because right now I'm creating gluten. This flour specifically has about 11% protein in it. Double O flours have somewhere between typically 9 and 11% protein. And the reason that I'm using a double O flour is because it's milled from soft wheat, not hard wheat, the way that most all-purpose flours are. And so even though it has a higher protein content than, say, like a pastry dough or a pastry flour or a cake flour or something like that, so it's going to give us that structure, the soft wheat's also going to keep the pasta softer. And so it won't be as chewy or as hard as if I were going to use like a regular all-purpose flour. Can you use all-purpose flour? Absolutely. You don't have to use double O flour. I just prefer it because I know that they're milled from durum from soft wheat. And so that is what I'm doing. But I'm trying to think of where we were going with that. Grandma Slayer, that's funny. No, it does not call for that. Yeah, like I can feel, so yeah. So my grandmother often made pasta, and she said that it must be made by hand because you need to feel when it's ready. German pasta though, no, all pastas. So this is ready to go into the refrigerator. You can see how smooth it is now, right? Compared, you can feel it. It feels almost like leather, like it's like nice and smooth. And then there is spring back. So when I press, it pops back out. You can literally see the dough moving back out as I do that. In about what it's basically like you kind of push. I have in the recipe online, I'm like, hey, it's basically like as much pressure as you would use to push an elevator button, like assuming we're not angry or something like that. Like you just kind of give it like a little kind of tap. And if in like 1 to 2 seconds, it's basically sprung all the way back out, then you're ready. But if it stays indented, then that's not enough. And it's like, if it's springing right back out, like really, really fast, then you've gone too far. You need to let it chill. So now I've made this this gluten structure, right? So we were talking a little bit about protein. The higher the protein, the more gluten you can form, the kind of tougher that your dough will get, right? Which is why I like using that soft wheat, as I mentioned. The thing that you're doing now, though, is we've kind of coiled up all of those gluten structures, right? And we've gotten them, they're like nice and coiled and tight. And we've kind of created that. But now we need the dough to sit and hydrate, and we need all of those coiled up structures to kind of relax. And so that's why we let it sit in the refrigerator. If I tried to roll this out now, there would be so much spring back, right? That it would keep doing this to me, and it would take forever to get it to relax and actually like stretch all the way out as we're sheeting our pasta. And so what we do is we let that happen in the refrigerator, just kind of like by itself chilling, so that when we do go to roll it out, that spring back is less. Now, I do have that an hour is probably the better amount of time, but the minimum amount of time you can let it chill is 30 minutes. That's what we're gonna try to do today. Let me get some cling wrap, cling film, cling wrap, press and seal, whatever you feel like using. As long as it's, I actually prefer cling wrap to the press and seal, but this is all that I have down here right now, so this is what we're gonna use. Okay. Okay, so now this is gonna go in our refrigerator, and it's gonna chill. I know I said that we are cooking everything from scratch, and we are. I'm gonna make sure that, I'm gonna make sure that what we just put into the refrigerator does come out, and we do work with that today. But what I'm gonna do right now, just because we need something to fill the time, and I don't want anybody to be bored, is I actually have the dough that I made last night. Okay, I'm gonna let the people who are here cooking with me decide what we're gonna do with this. Would you rather that I send this through the sheeter so you can watch how the sheeter works as a pasta attachment on my KitchenAid, or would you rather rather watch me roll this out by hand? What would you rather I do with this piece? We're gonna do both today, so it's just a matter of which one comes first. What happens if you forget the pasta in the refrigerator? This dough is good in the refrigerator for up to 2 days. After that, you're gonna start seeing black spots and stuff appear. The flavor is gonna go slightly off. It's still good for even an extra day after that, technically, and you're gonna be boiling it. So if anything does start growing in there, it's kind of gonna get killed. Because remember that flour and egg are not cooked, right? So you're basically making this with both the things that need to be cooked in order to be safely eaten. But yeah, you'll start to see it kind of change color, and just the flavors will the flavor of the dough is just not going to be the same. But it's not technically going to hurt anybody if it stays in the fridge for longer than 2 days. I just don't recommend using the dough after about 2 days in the fridge. So it can stay in there. If you forget it, maybe that day, you can just do it the next day. Cheater? Okay, well, you got it. Yeah, it's the egg. The egg is, yeah. Can I freeze this dough? You can technically, yes, you can freeze this dough. I would recommend freezing this after you've shaped it though. Because like, getting this to come back to room temperature and then work on it and then maybe freeze it again, like it's just a lot. It's a lot of freezing and thawing. Like if you're not planning on using the pasta the day that you make it, I would say that you should make it into whatever noodle shape that you want and then freeze it so you're only doing it once. Because every time you freeze anything that has moisture in it, you're creating crystalline structures because it's icing, and then you're defrosting it, and then you're creating those, and then you're defrosting it, and it's just gonna mess with the texture of your dough. And again, if you want it to be like fresh pasta, and I don't know if there's anything that you could do that make it like worse than boxed pasta in the texture category, like wise, but still it's gonna be better if you're not like freezing it and refreezing it and all that kind of stuff. So just that. This recipe is about 3 portions worth of dough. I used one last night when I was messing around with some like ravioli kind of shapes. But basically what you're gonna do is you can do one of 3 things. It's essentially 100 grams, right, per piece. If you wanted to break it into 4 pieces and do even less, that's also fine. It's really up to you on like how big of a piece you want to have. If you're rolling it by hand and you're going for like a specific shape, I would recommend doing even smaller pieces, just like if your like surface is as small as mine, and you don't have like the really big, oh gosh, it would be crazy to have those like really big rolling pins and just make like a huge countertop full of pasta with one big sheet. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. But also I don't have that kind of space. So making smaller pieces, cutting it into like 6, if you're gonna do it by hand, is probably a good idea. But if you're using a sheeter, 3, 4 max is really like a good basic thing when you're trying to make a noodle pasta, because you want those sheets to be a minimum, I think I have it in here somewhere, of the length. Yeah, 14 to 16 inches is roughly the average length of pappardelle pasta, which is what I was planning on making today. That's about 35.5 to 38 centimeters long. So if you use bigger pieces, you're going to end up with longer, and then you're gonna have to try to cut that down, and you're gonna need more space. So just do yourself a favor. It's okay if you have like smaller pieces and go from that. But what you can do is you can do 1 of 2 things. You can it's about 100 grams, right, if you're cutting it in 3. Or you can weigh it, and I've got 208, so 104 is my midway point. And so you just like kind of cut it in half and go there. Cool, so that's about 100. I'm gonna use the bigger size though. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. Anytime you're not using your dough, you want it to be covered, because it will dry out and then it's going to crack and it's going to do all sorts of stuff that you don't want it to do. I'm just going to leave that off to the side. It's going to do all sorts of stuff you don't want it to do while you're rolling it out. So move this off to the side. I'm absolutely going to knock something over during this stream, but I'm going to try to be good about it. I'm walking around, what? Oh, okay. I'm gonna walk around this way real quick and grab this. Ugh. Oh, that sauce is smelling really nice. Okay, how best to do this that you guys can actually see me? I think this way? That seems right. I want you to be able to see it going into the machine and coming out. I might do this this way and just kind of like have the machine between us. Okay, get all this out of the way. So what I like to do is I like to have a bit of a mixture. It's not necessary, but like I said, I like to do it. A bit of a mixture of the original double O flour and also some semolina. I like to coat the pasta with semolina. It's, again, not necessary. I honestly don't even think that I put it in the recipe because it's really like it's optional, but I find that it doesn't stick to itself when you're going to cut it, and it's just like all around doesn't, like if the pasta is fully, how do I say this? If the pasta is fully rolled out in a sheet and then it's like you fold it over, it will actually start like sticking into itself if it's not dry enough. And the semolina kind of acts as a bit of a barrier because those granules are larger than just flour. And so it takes longer for that to be absorbed into the pasta dough. And so it just doesn't stick as readily. Pizza stand is absolutely, yeah, that's a great, I like it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just roll this out a tad. And then I'm going to book fold that. I don't know what he has on. I can't see any of what's going on here for myself, so I have no idea where the camera is. Let me see if he has, I don't think he has Twitch open anywhere. Do we have it open anywhere? No, it doesn't look like we do. All right. I can't see where the camera is, so I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing, but this is close enough. Okay. So I've essentially got that stretched and rolled. You can do this one time, you can do this a couple times. I'm gonna send this through here multiple times on the first setting. So it will stretch it out. You want to make sure that you're doing these kind of, it's almost like a stretch and fold. You want to make sure that you're doing these folds because you want to get that gluten kind of reactivated and you want to get the dough kind of ready to have those stretches. And this is just going to help, it's going to help do that rather than starting directly from the refrigerator and sending it right through the mixer. So I'm going to do one more. So I basically did kind of like an envelope fold, and now I'm just going to fold it in half. If you're folding in half, it doesn't matter which fold. You could do a book fold, like you could do like full on, hey, I know how to make croissants and I'm using that here. You can do that if you want. Just make sure that if you're doing kind of this like half fold, that you're putting it with the side that was not folded on top of itself, that you're using that bottom half and not the top half. Because if this is not fully together, by the time you put it in, then you're gonna get like separate smushy sides and you don't wanna do that. I prefer the first fold that I did, the envelope fold, because it really keeps these sides nice and uniform. And you kind of don't get that on the half fold. I just wanted to show both. I guess if you wanted to do, I'll show you one more. So then you've got also your book fold. And that looks kind of like this, but that's crazy thin. And we're not gonna use that. Okay, so now what I wanna do, because I can't see any of my settings and that, yeah, I need this to be on a 1. So the way that the settings work is you're kind of like doing a count up, right? So first round, second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round, right? And the higher you get, the lower, the narrower these two pieces come together. The rollers come together and it makes it thinner and thinner and thinner. So you always want to make sure you're starting on 1. If you started on like a 6 or 7, that would not go well for you. So we definitely want, you can still see the rolling. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start. Maybe. Oh, no. Oh, yes. No? What's going on? Weird. Not sure how I feel about that. Interesting. Okay. So we're going to send it through. I've got it on a 4. A 4 on most mixers is your dough setting. If you're mixing dough, so like say if I was making, again, brioche dough in the stand mixer, that's a 4. If I'm rolling dough, it's a 4. But that is the most used setting for dough, or what is supposed to be used according to the people here. So, or the people, the manufacturers, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna fold it. Okay, I'm gonna give it just a little bit of a, I did my little envelope fold there. So like if you were gonna fold a letter to put it in an envelope, a letter fold, not an envelope fold, letter fold. If you're gonna fold a letter, put it in an envelope, that's basically what I'm doing. Okay, and we're gonna just, again, let that go through. Okay, I'm gonna put it through again. And you'll feel this dough start to feel like it's kind of tacky, and that's exactly what you want. I'm gonna do this again. And you want it to almost end up the same thickness as the roller. And that's where we've gotten. So that's one. We're gonna move to two. Okay? Is anybody, are the people who are cooking with me? I guess you're just chilling and watching me because your dough's in the refrigerator. But this is essentially what we're doing. And I can do this again. Like I have other pieces. So like that's not a big deal. Okay? So I've run that through again twice. I'm gonna move this now to a 3. In just a little bit, I'll probably add a little bit of flour to this just to make sure that it doesn't stick. Pasta doughs tend to not have that issue because they are such a thick dough. I don't usually have issues with it sticking. Like even if I like roll this out by hand, like I don't put any flour down. But I might. It feels still good, so I don't know if I'm gonna do that yet. We're gonna roll it one more time through that same setting, and then we're gonna go through on the next one. You don't have to do this. Once you get through kind of like you go through like not once, 2 or 3 times on the first setting. After that, you don't technically need to run the dough back through a setting more than once. I just like to do it to make sure that I absolutely am getting a uniform piece of dough. It is fun. This is a lot of fun. And this is gonna start getting longer, so it's gonna start looking more and more awkward as I'm like trying to go to a 5. I'm also worried I'm gonna hit my hand on this mixing part here. 6. And I'm actually going to stop at a 6 for this. If you wanted to do a ravioli, you could keep it at the same setting. Same thing with a lasagna. You could also, yeah, see, I'm scared I'm gonna hit this. Okay, you could also make it thinner if you really, really wanted to. It depends on what the filling of your like ravioli would be. But yeah, that's basically your dough. I am going to quickly just like, okay, I'm coming around. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of flour, a little bit of semolina, just get it dusted. On top. Like how easy is this, right? I really believe that like a lot of the times things that seem hard just seem hard because like the time given for how long it'll take to do something is listed as like 2 hours and you're like, oh my gosh. But then it's really just because it's like it has to sit in the refrigerator for a while. And it's really not a difficult thing to do. All right, so now what I'm gonna do, and this is really up to you, if you want them to be like perfectly, like the perfect width, you can take a knife and you can slice I'll do that now. I really don't care when it comes to this. Like, all pasta is pasta, and I don't care if I've got some slices that are like different angles and whatever, but if you like want to be perfect, you essentially would just cut like the ends off. And then what you're going to want to do, and I want to make sure that I have my centimeters here correctly. Let's see. Okay, so essentially what we're going to do is we're going to roll this about like that. Okay, and then for the pasta that we're making today, the pappardelle pasta, you're typically going to want to cut, let's see, 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch, but that's 2 to 2.5 centimeters in width. Okay, so we're gonna do about here. Oh, last one was a little bit small, but that's okay. And then we're going to unwrap them. Now, these need to be left out for a little bit to dry if you plan on not eating it that day. Okay, so if you want to put this in, like if you want to make like nests and have these frozen in bundles so that you can then just toss them into some boiling water and make some pasta, then you need these to dry out because these are still soft. And if they're not dried out a little bit, then what's going to happen is they're going to melt into each other. Once that semolina and the double O flour that I have spread out here, once that mixture gets absorbed and rehydrated into the dough, then it's going to start sticking to itself, and then you're going to have a problem. And you're going to go to cook it, and it's just going to be one big glob, and we don't want that. So they do need to dry out just a touch. Now, I have back here my little pasta dryer rack thing. You don't need one. You really don't. When my family bought me the attachments here, this is still going, that's loud. When my family bought the attachments for me, they also bought the drying rack. I was thinking like, hey, you know, why not? And I really appreciate it. I do use it. It's not necessary. You can just lay them out. Like it's absolutely not a necessary thing. But here you go. Now you've got pasta. And this is basically enough for one person. I know it doesn't seem like it's a lot, but let me tell you. Had a date night last night. Oh. Okay, see, now this is what I mean. It's on low. It's on low. And I can smell that tomato sauce really, like it's boiling and it's on low. All right, we're gonna move this off to the side before that burns. Okay. I do not salt pasta dough. You may or may not find recipes online. Most don't. Most don't put salt in the dough. Some people will. Salt your water, don't salt your dough. If your pasta is not salty enough for your tastes, the first time that you make it, just add extra salt to your water. Don't like add salt to the dough and then add salt to the water. It won't. So what happens is when you add salt to eggs, I don't know if anybody here makes like soft scrambled eggs. Or like is one of those people that's like, oh, I am a bougie egg person and I have to do it a certain way, kind of like me. You add salt and a little bit of water to your eggs before you make like a scrambled egg, a soft scrambled egg. The water adds steam, which helps kind of cook the eggs without needing direct heat. And it kind of, and it adds in just like a little extra kind of hydration to your egg. But the salt, adding salt and letting your egg sit for like 10 to 15 minutes, it denatures the proteins in the eggs, which means it kind of breaks it apart, right? And so what happens when you add salt into your dough is it kind of breaks apart all the proteins in the eggs. And then it starts getting, you may not feel it, but it is going to change the texture of your dough. And it's not going to be as structurally sound as it would be without the salt. Also, salt can fully dissolve in water. And so you get a like saline solution, right, that you're cooking your pasta dough in, and it goes through the dough, imbues the dough completely uniformly, right? So like we've been talking about how we're like trying to make everything as uniform as possible, the thickness of the dough, the whatever, like all that kind of stuff. And then if you add like crystals of salt into the dough, they're not going to dissolve until they hit boiling water, and then you've got like little spots that are saltier than other spots. Now, does that super matter when you're eating an entire piece and you've got it wrapped around a fork and all that? Not really. It's just kind of one of those things that like best practices, it's better to salt the water than it is to salt the dough. Yeah, protein's the powerhouse of the cell. No, it's a mitochondria. Definitely not an American portion. Oh, that? You'd be surprised. You would be very surprised. I feel like I should cook that off. Also, remember that I cut the edges off, which I typically wouldn't do. So you'd have this much extra dough or extra pasta that I otherwise wouldn't have. I feel like I should make something with this. Although it is starting to dry out already. We still have another piece. Let's see. This is my problem. I have absolutely no idea when I put that dough in the refrigerator. Was anybody else keeping track of time for me? When did I do that? Is it time that I can roll that one out? I'm gonna hand roll this one, and then I'm gonna hand roll this one, and then we can do the machine again. It's been 84 years. All right, let's get this a little out of the way. So I'm moving the flour out of the way. I really only want the flour for like coating and drying. I'm sitting here saying like if you want to make nests, if you want to just boil it. So like essentially you would make the pasta, have your strips. There's no need for any of this. Pasta goes right into your boiling water, okay? Like super easy, goes right into your boiling water. I guess what I can do as well, let me do this. Let's fill this sucker up with some water now that I have some tomato sauce already done. By the time I'm done with the hand rolling, the fridge should be done. Thanks, Mia. I know I can count on you guys. Okay, so I'm just gonna add some water to this. This Dutch oven is far too large for this purpose, but it's what I have down here. So this is what we're using. This kitchen is my studio kitchen. So like I'm like using all of the decorative stuff and all the stuff that I would use just for like recipe testing and not necessarily like where's the fork? Like the fork I was using is like super decorative because I use it for photography. Okay. Let's get this going. We need front left, and I want the bigger side. And then literally, okay, you guys think I'm kidding. Like, go for it. There you go. Cool. Perfect. I think in the recipe, I think I have how much you need to, let's see. Whew. I don't have any here, but like, yeah, salt your water. Like, so much salt. Just do it. This is the basement kitchen, yeah. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Do it. So this is obviously going to take longer. And I am definitely not going to be as good at this as I am with the roller because the machine's not doing it for me. But we can definitely do it, friends. So I'm gonna do the same thing, right? Is I wanna make sure that I am getting this dough ready. Okay. I have a bigger rolling pin, but this one just feels better to me. So we're gonna do this today. It is going to get tacky and stick to your counter, but it's not going to stick the way that like a soft dough is gonna stick and not be able to, like I'm gonna like peel this up like a sticker a couple of times. But what that does mean, if you want, you could add flour, it'll toughen the dough. It's really up to you. If you want it to like not be sticky, you could throw some semolina down or something like that, or some of the 00 flour. But what it does mean is that you have to be careful when you're rolling because it's going to stick, and if it sticks, it will start overlapping and get a little weird. You'll probably see me do it on here, so I can absolutely demonstrate, and I promise it will also not be on purpose when I do it. But that you're basically going to want to kind of hold your dough up when it starts to get like sticky like that. You're going to want to be more careful about how you're rolling. Okay, so let's do this one more time. Salty like the sea, as Anne Burnell, RIP, would say. F's in chat for Anne Burnell. Sad. I wouldn't say, okay, as they say, salting water is the one chance you had to add flavor to the pasta itself. I would argue that if you're adding other things to the pasta, like spinach or like beet powder, or something else, carrot juice, that also is an opportunity for flavor and color, fun colors, squid ink, things like that. But yeah, squid ink would make it salty, actually. But yeah, it's really like the main point for you to get salt into your dough. Okay, I'm feeling like I don't like how thin this is, so I'm gonna actually too thin. Okay. That's a little bit better. Colored pastas, yeah. I mean, you could just add food coloring and it would be fine, but still. Okay, so let's get this going. This is going to obviously take some time, as you can tell. I've got a little bit of spring back going on here, and this has been in the refrigerator like overnight. You just kind of have to beat it into submission, so to speak. Roll it into submission. And I'm just going to keep flipping it and doing the same thing over and over and over again. I'm kind of going to start in the middle, and then I'm going to roll. If you start from one side and go this way, by the time you get to the end of it, especially when it's like really long, by the time you get to the end of it, it's going to be like sticking and doing all sorts of things you don't want it to do. So kind of pull down and then pull up. And you're just going to keep doing that over and over and over again. You could, I know, like I've seen the little old pasta ladies with their round. The problem is I don't have a round one. This one is actually meant for wonton wrappers and stuff like that. That's what this roller is made for. I'm just using it today. But essentially, yeah, you're just kind of pushing it along. And that's really what you want to think about, is you're just kind of like pushing it in the direction that you want it to go. Can everybody see okay? But think about like how how quickly that sheeter pulled out like such thin sheets. And like I'm still only here. You can see how it's starting to kind of stick as I'm rolling. At some point, it is going to give up the ghost and it's going to start stretching the way that I want it to. And it is going to be pretty soon, actually, I can tell. See how the dough is starting to stick to the side? So now what I'm going to start doing, once it starts sticking like that, I'm going to start lifting as I go. When I feel it start to do that, I'm just going to kind of lift a little bit and roll. I do find that like your edges are like never going to be as nice as they are on the sheeter when it comes to this, which is unfortunate. So like you always end up with like a really rounded edge. And it looks like I had a hole in this side here. That's okay. Okay. I'm probably about at a 2 or 3 for thickness on that sheeter, if we're going by those numbers. Essentially what you're looking for is you want to be able to see your fingers through it. You want to be able to see the color, like what kind of pink or whatever the heck underneath that, and be able to like visibly see your individual fingers. It needs to be thin enough to see through. And that's what we're going for. Oh, see? There you go, first overlap. And the reason that I'm lifting and doing this kind of over and over again is because it has already stuck. And so if I try, you can kind of lift up if you want and then keep rolling over it, like if that's something that you want to do. But once it's stuck, like rolling it's not going to do anything, right? So you need to actually keep lifting it so that you can then roll it, because it is currently stuck to the counter. So now what I'm doing is I'm kind of just lifting as I go to make sure that I'm not going to do any kind of like overlaps the way that I just did right there. Okay. We're getting there. This is probably about a 4. But at this point it's long enough that like I can't really go up one and then down the other. So now I'm kind of lifting and rolling. Could I put flour down? Yes. Am I going to? No, because we can do this without flour. And we are getting very close. So now I see, you can see fingers. We are in fact getting closer to the end. That? Yeah, that's a microwave. I'm probably about at a 5 on thickness setting compared to a sheeter or a pasta roller or whatever we want to call it. Getting very close to the end. I am going to cut these ends off because I wasn't able to really get up there. The way that I wanted to. I'm starting to see the design of my countertop underneath this, which is frankly awesome. Okay, that is about right. Let me go down here just a little bit more. Whoops. I think I prefer pushing up than pulling down on it. Okay, that's about right. Yeah. Okay, so this is done. This is our thinned out pasta dough here. I'm gonna cut, have my straight little lines. And then we're gonna do the same thing that we did before, right? So I'm gonna just run this through here. Whoops, that went on the floor. There you go. Okay, same thing, fold it over. And then we're gonna cut. So I'm gonna do the same thing and we're gonna flip. And then we're gonna cut. I prefer like the really thick, like I prefer like this, like sheets. But I get it. Would you say pasta dough has a sweet spot for being rolled? Can you under or overdo it? I mean, underdoing it would just mean that your pasta's thicker. Overdoing it means that your pasta probably dried out. It'll start cracking on you if you take too long to roll it out. I'm gonna just do the same thing. We're gonna set it aside. I wouldn't recommend, this is pretty close. I'm almost at the point where I wanna make this into like a nest. And I am gonna just shift it a little bit because I'm starting to see it dry out and get a little bit cracked, which means like I need to make that into a nest now or it's gonna just be like sheets of half of folded pasta in a bag, and I don't want that to happen. But I do have my water's almost boiling, so we're pretty close to being able to cook this anyway. But this is ready for a nest. So that was what, like 10 minutes maybe? And essentially what you want to do if you're going to do like a nest, I've seen the rounded ones. Rounded ones are easier when you have like thinner noodles, so something like a spaghetti, or like a, let's see, what are other thin, like an angel hair pasta or like a capellini or something like that. For these guys, what we're gonna do is we're kind of just gonna make it like a row, and you're just gonna fold it around your hand, like this. Come on. And then that's essentially what you're gonna do is that becomes your bundle under. And that is what goes like on your sheet pans, right? So like if you have like a baking sheet or something like that, just do like a silicone lined or parchment paper lined sheet, and then this is gonna go on top of it. You'll stick it in a freezer, let them freeze as individual bundles. The bundles can then get taken off of the sheet. I prefer silicone just because they're easier to kind of peel off. And then this would go into like a bag, basically. And you want to make sure that you have like the date on the bag so that you know, because pasta's not going to last longer than, I would honestly say, I prefer like no more than like 3 or 4 weeks, like a month, because they're gonna start to get like white spots where they get like freezer burn. Pasta is just like a super delicate thing to kind of work with. So the longer it's in the freezer, the worse the texture is gonna be when it comes out, and the harder for everything to separate and just kind of like cook through correctly. The harder it's going to be. So like put the date on it on your bag for like when you froze it, and then like within a month use the bundles. Okay, so I'm gonna because I'm gonna cook this pasta. So I'm gonna take this back out. But you can see like they're nice and separated, right? And they'll stay that way even through like freezing. So like when this goes back, like even in a bundle, when this goes into the pasta water, that will all kind of come apart. And now we're boiling. Perfect timing. So let's do, I'm just gonna toss this in. This is only gonna be a couple minutes. Like no, it's like 2 minutes. And then what do I got over here? Let's see. I made some sauce earlier. It's really not that important, but just so that we can experience this. Did I turn this low? Whoops, wrong one. This guy. I didn't mean to do that. Please come back to a boil. Okay. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm just gonna do a quick, just so you guys can see what it looks like. You can see how long it takes. This is pasta, so you get to the thing, right? From start to finish, from egg and flour, through shaping, through cooking, and you get the whole shebang. Why not? Do I have a deeper spoon than this? Little ladle thing? We'll just use a soup spoon. It'll be fine. Oh, I did have a nicer knife. Look at that. I did have a better knife. Oh well. That's 2. This is probably already. Where are you? The problem with having pasta pieces this big and like having so few of them is that I can't just take a whole one out and try it. There we go. All right. That's basically done. This is al dente. So at this point, I would take this out and then I would put it directly into my sauce. This is the preferred shape of pasta for like a ragu. It's not really the best for just the spaghetti sauce that I've got here, or this like I've got like a marinara sauce basically. But we're gonna do what we do. I'm gonna take a little bit of the pasta water too. Now this bowl this Dutch oven, like I said before, is really too big of a pot for this. But a little bit of that flour that's come off of the pasta is going to be thickening up this sauce just a little bit more. I'm gonna turn you off. Boop. And I'm just gonna continue cooking in this. So like essentially what you're looking for is, and if I like broke off that piece and kind of maybe could show a close up on the camera, there'd be like a fine white line right through the middle of it. And that's the like al dente that you're looking for. So al dente, like to the teeth, right? Is it just, it gives, and then you hit just that like really like a very fine line middle point where like it gives resistance to your teeth, right? And so that's essentially what you're looking for. And then you put it into whatever sauce that you're going to be finishing it in, and you let that finish cooking in the sauce. Now, again, it's fresh pasta. It will start breaking on you if it cooks for too long. I'm gonna get a bowl. Maybe. My sauce wasn't really hot when I put this in, so. But we're probably at a good point anyway. Okay. So I'm gonna try to do this without getting really messy. It's probably not gonna happen. pasta. I can't throw away any of my paper towels because we're using it for the light. So that's your pasta. I am going to eat for just a second, just like one piece. Just like one piece. Maybe. This is a really big piece of pasta. Okay. That's really good. So, pasta. I'm gonna set this off to the side. We're gonna take the pasta out of the refrigerator and we're gonna make one more batch. That's delicious. Okay, so for those of you who are cooking along with me, now is your time. You've been called back to the kitchen. Do you want any taste testers? If you want some, you can have some, honey. Honestly, you know what would be really good that I didn't think about is so we have a local shop in town that put out something on their Instagram that was like, hey, is anybody interested in pancetta stock? And I was like, absolutely. And so I went and picked up stock for that. I bet you that pancetta stock would be excellent in that sauce. Okay, so here we are again. If you have yourself a sheeter, you're gonna do 3, right? 3 or 4. I'm weighing it 265.4. I'm gonna divide that into 3 so I know roughly how much I want to have. I forgot already what it was, 265.4. Goodness. Divided by 3. It's about 88 grams per. So I'm gonna just pretend like I can do, well, it looks about right. 82.8, good enough. Okay, cool. So we've got our first piece here. I'm gonna start rolling that one out. I'm gonna put this back in the refrigerator. I'm actually gonna stick it into a baggie to make sure that it doesn't dry out for sure. Okay. Here we go. So same thing we were doing before. You're gonna start in the middle, you're gonna push up, go back to the middle, push down, and then you're gonna give yourself your letter fold here. Okay? I'm gonna do this 3 times just to get this properly activated and ready to go. Remember, we're still gonna send it through the pasta roller a couple times as well on the first setting. Rolling dough is very therapeutic. That's why I was like, I mean, you could mix the dough on a stand mixer, but also like kneading by hand is like really nice. Sometimes it's just nice to get your hands messy. Like I really like if there's a way for me not to use a stand mixer, I almost prefer that. Like if it's not about like uniformity, or it's not about something that's gonna take me like an hour and a half to mix if I did it by hand, like I would absolutely be using just my my hands to mix things out. I just did that a little bit too wide. We're gonna let that come back together a little bit. Is she gonna fit? It's a little too wide. Whoops. I'm gonna do that 4 times because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. We're gonna pull this guy back here so that we can again see me roll everything back out. Did it shrink enough? That works. That works actually. Okay, cool. So here we go. We're gonna turn this guy back. Actually, we're gonna turn it on. I'm gonna put it at my 4 if I can get there. Now remember, this is the hardest thing to remember to do. This is the most difficult thing about pasta, is I have my pasta roller, my sheeter back at a 6, and I need to move it all the way to the 1. Do not forget that, because it will not be good. Do we want to see what's gonna happen here? I'm gonna put it at like let's put it at a 4. Is that a 4? No, a 5. Okay, so it's at a 5. Let's see what happens to the dough when we put it through and it's at a 5. Oh no. That actually didn't turn out horrible, but you see the edges? Most of the time what happens, though, not only does it immediately start sticking, right? So it got really sticky and weird. Your edges are gonna get all messed up, and a lot of the times it'll push off to like the side, like this, and it'll start tearing. And we don't like that. I'm gonna do this real quick. The fresher dough is a little bit on the sticky side. I want some double O. I'm basically just gonna do this to make sure. Okay, now let's go to a 1. We're starting over. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna send this through. Okay, I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna fold it. Okay, and we're gonna send it through. Okay, one more time. And now I'm gonna turn it up to a 2. Are you with me? My favorite show is on. Thanks, Leon. Or I guess Jorge, sorry. Do we go by last names? Okay, so that's our 2. We're gonna move up to a 3. Okay, move to a 4. Just kind of go whatever pace you feel like going. This isn't awkward at all. Super fine. Okay. Now 5. And a 6. If you wanted to go thinner, you can, but I'm gonna stop here at the 6. One more time. This is so much faster. Oh no! Well, yay! Looks like I gotta. Okay, it's okay. When you make mistakes, you just fix it. I'm doing it backwards, okay? In my defense. I'm gonna start this at a 2. Okay, starting at a 2. I'm so worried that I'm gonna hit this, that it's like getting me in a weird. Okay. No mistakes. Happy little accidents. Exactly. It just means that my dough is just getting a little extra love today. All right, back to a 6. Hopefully I will not do that again. We'll see. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. A 6, okay. This is supposed to be the last run through. We'll see. We'll just let it do that. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I'm just on the wrong side. You want to make sure that you're giving support to the pasta. Otherwise, it'll start stretching and it might go through the machine a little weird. I just don't have another option because I'm backwards. Okay, out of the way. I'm not going to cut the ends off of this one. This one turned out pretty well. But I am still going to do the same thing, right? So I've got some semolina down and a little bit of flour. I'm going to kind of rub it over the table, make sure that it goes through all that. For anybody who's cooking with me, how are we doing? Do we feel good about this? Do I need to do this one more time? Are we happy with our outcome? What are we thinking? We're gonna roll. So again, you're doing 3/4 of an inch to an inch, which is about 2.5 centimeters. If it's not that exact situation, that's okay. Just relatively close is where you're going. Ooh, I may not have put enough semolina on this one, on this batch. Let's go, please. You gotta work fast so it doesn't start sticking to itself too much. Do we have any questions? Ooh, Nightbot's got the wrong. Oh wait, hold on a second. The description is wrong, but the link is correct. You should have done this with me. It looks like they'd make awesome carbonara. Yeah. Yeah, this would be good for like a carbonara or like a cacio e pepe or something like that. You just have to cut them thinner. Although, like I said, I prefer like really thick sheets of pasta, but that's just me. Funny looking chips. Yeah, it is. Okay. So like I said, like I don't care that I've got like a rounded edge here. Like that doesn't bother me. That like it comes to a point. It's pasta. I know that I did have somebody making, trying to find the name. Start with a V. Gotta scroll all the way to the top. I want to know how you're doing. Or Jay? Who was cooking with me today? It doesn't scroll all the way up to the top. I don't know who's cooking with me today. Somebody who's cooking with me. I want to make sure you're good. I'm going to hang these. And then we're going to end the stream because we're done. Because pasta is so easy. So I guess, I mean, you guys saw, so like I already ate a noodle. Ooh, we're getting. So I ate a noodle. I'm gonna need to add some more sauce to this for funsies. But like that's a portion, right? So like essentially you've got, I'd say you probably have 2 to 3 portions depending on how big of an eater you are. So you make a batch of these and you got a meal. You want to double it? Fine. And like the cool thing about the way that I have like the ratio that we use, right? That 1.64 multiplier on the weight of the eggs. For how much flour you use, the cool thing about it is that you can use as many eggs as you want. You don't have to be like, okay, well, I have to double it, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. Just as many eggs as you want, weigh them, multiply it. You have the flour you need. You can make as many batches as you want. So if you feel like, if you feel like 3 of this is like not enough for a meal for your family, add an extra egg, and then go from there. And it's super simple. Super simple. Are we all good? Last chance for questions. For anybody who is here live, is your last chance. You can still ask questions after the fact. You just can't get your answer live, I should say. Okay. I'm closing out the video. We're good? Okay, husband. Are you at your computer? Are you ready to close down the video?
Ready.
You ready? Okay. You can cook. This is such an easy recipe. You can cook. You can definitely make pasta. I feel like pasta is like the thing that like everybody can make pasta. Everybody could do a simple syrup. I fully believe in you. Okay. Thank you very much for joining me today. I feel like I should have my bowl of pasta in front of me, or like even the sheets of pasta, but it's fine. Thank you very much for joining me today, making some pappardelle pasta. It is a flat sheet pasta that's then cut down into our noodles here. It's a lovely, lovely pasta, but this recipe is made for beginners. It's made for consistency. Honestly, even as a non-beginner, it's still just easier for me to go by my kitchen scale. And I just love how consistent this pasta is all the time because we use math for it. And it can be used for all sorts of things. It can be used for the pappardelle pasta we made today. You can do fettuccine, linguine. You can use it for ravioli and for lasagna, for all of the things that you want to use your kind of sheeted long pastas for. You can use this recipe for that. I'm really glad you joined me. If you did not hear an answer to a question that popped into your head during the live that we're currently having, go ahead and just, like I said at the very beginning of the video, add your comment in and I will come and answer your questions if you do have any. I really appreciate you guys all being here. I hope that you learned something. I hope that this made pasta easy for you. If you want to find me, you can find me on here, obviously at YouTube. At A Little Spoon. You can find me on Instagram, also at A Little Spoon. I do have underscores in my name, so it's at @A_little_spoon. I also have a website. I have a food blog called alittlespoon.com. You can follow the link in this video to that website and then roll around and see if you find anything else that you like. I have recipes that span everything. We've got cocktails, we've got pasta, we've got ice cream, we've got all of the things. I think there's like mojo pork and meatballs and stuffed cabbage, pierogi, all of it, right? But I do really lean into teaching and into food science and really understanding why you're doing what you're doing, what substitutions are going to do to some of the ingredients, and just how it'll affect food so that you get a better feel for what you're doing in the kitchen and you could be more flexible. I love teaching. If you have questions about anything, hit me up. Just send me an email, either through my website or through Instagram. You can DM me there, and I will try to get back to you and help you with whatever you're having an issue with. I do have a Patreon. You can find that also on my Instagram, and you can find that on my website. It is mainly so that I don't have to have ads on my website. I don't want to put ads on my website, and I know that is typically how food bloggers make their income, is through ad revenue. I really would prefer not to do that, and so I'm kind of crowdfunding and crowdsourcing income, so that they don't have to do, so ads don't have to do it for me, and so that you guys get a better experience when you're on my website. If you would like to support my work, you can follow that Patreon link and become a paid subscriber. There are some benefits to it. If it's not just like, hey, I want to be a lurker and I just want to support this person's work. We also do have a private Discord server where we talk about food all the time. I put behind the scenes stuff in there. We do a hangout once a month where we hang out with each other for about an hour and just chit chat about what we're up to. So if that sounds like something that you want to be a part of and you want to join the community, give it a shot. I would love to have some extra people to welcome. And I hope you really enjoyed it. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.